Okay, on the board here I have developed a timeline of the novel, and it's kind of scrunched because unfortunately in an ideal world I would have a smartboard that would reach from the flag over there all the way over to my jack-o'-lantern here, and that would be super cool. But unfortunately we have this small space. And I want you to see the novel as a whole. I want you to see the entire thing and how it develops ideas. So forgive me if any of this material is a little bit scrunched, but we can deal with it. First of all, you've got a timeline. We begin over here with the summer. We end over here with the winter. And the events of the QARs occur within that timeline. This, of course, is a pivotal breaking moment between the summer and winter poles, if you will. Okay, so I want to start our characters. I want to kind of tell the story. I'm going to start our characters over here on the left. And they're going to walk along this timeline, have some experiences. What's QAR2? Yes, grab unit guides if you don't have them out already. Start with one of our very first experiences. Yeah, what was the substance of QAR number 2? What plot event were we focusing on in chapter 2? Sydney.
When they were for dinner, and then you see how Finney gets out of being in trouble.
Excellent. So Finney gets out of being in trouble, and what quality did we learn about Finney through that, Sydney?
He's really confident in what he says, and he can make people believe him.
Correct, and not because he's a good liar, but because he believes in what he says. So here we have a character quality of Finney, this open, friendly honesty, shining bright in his ability to make people believe him simply because he believes everything he says. There is no closed-off nature to Finney. There's nothing hidden. He's totally honest. What does summer represent? Summertime is what? Yeah, we have the time of childhood. And Finney rules. Finney rules this time. Finney rules the boys at this school during summer. Summertime is Finney's time. Summertime is the child's time. And so QAR number 2 establishes a bright, shining childhood characteristic. What's number 3? Cassie. Excellent. And what is Finney's view of sports? Excellent. Okay, so QAR number 2 over here in summer establishes. Oh man, fail. Board's not oriented, but I'll see what I can do. Yay, he's happy child. Here we have a further development of the child characteristic, although it's a little bit questionable, and that is that everybody wins. Once again, happy, and a development on what we've done with QAR number 2. Knowles is building the child character. Knowles is developing what this child character is like and exploring him. Once again, this is the time that we focus on Finney. What's the QAR for number 4? Emily, what's 4?
When Robert got stuck in the tree and doing his studies and putting it in, and he's like, you should come with us. And then he kind of overacts and he's like, I have to study, and then by the end of the
Very good. And then what happens at the tree? And? Come on, Emily, what happens at the tree? It's so obvious. You're missing what the obvious point. What happens at the tree? Yay! Finney falls out of the tree. Gene pushes him. Yay, Gene, I'm happy. I get to go over here. Leper, of course, just moves around the tree, comes out on the other side. Finney's kind of sidelined for a moment. What has just happened symbolically? What has just happened? Sarah?
Like the childhood is starting to evolve into adulthood.
Very good. The child is starting to go away. Not completely dead, because there's not just one breaking moment where your childhood dies. Rather, the child is starting to degrade and the adult is taking control. Now, this will not be a transition without its problems, as we know. However, this is the moment at which the adult decides to assert control. And what is the setting shift that occurs? Very good, Ryan. Thank you. We have moved out of summer. Summer is over. The time of the child is done. And now we're in a fall transition into winter. And very quickly we draw into winter, because it seems in the novel like winter descends on New England like a cloud instantly, because suddenly Leper's skiing. All right, what is the QAR for Chapter 5? What did we discuss in Chapter 5? What's Knowles doing there that we focused on? Madison.
Finney's reaction to Jean telling him that he made him fall.
Okay, so what do we develop? What is the character trait that we see?
Finney's denial.
Very good. Thank you, Madison. So on the other side of this break, we start to reassess the child. We are now on the adult path, and we will reassess the child, and we'll see, wait a second, child's got problems. And now he develops a weakness. So as we were discussing with the allegory, we see strengths and weaknesses. We were seeing strengths over here during the summertime. But now we see a shining weakness right on the other side of the tree incident. Now that we're trying to follow Jean along the path. QAR for number 6. It's not up there, but yeah. Very good. So, Cassie, what's the point of the two rivers? Mm-hmm. Correct. And Cassie, by shifting from the Devon to the Naguamset, what has Knowles accomplished as an author? Shift symbolically from childhood to adulthood, and not quite as strongly as that, but something more subtle, a shift in mood. So we go from happy, carefree mood to something that's a little bit messier, a little bit muckier, with the shift from one river to the next. We've seen childhood. We've seen a transition point. We now have a different mood. The author has developed one idea, has violently shifted us to a next, and has shifted the mood. But now, 7A. What is 7A? Kelsey, what's 7A? Very good. Leper is over here trying to ski through the trees. And Kelsey, what is that moment reminding us of? It's a symbolic moment that announces what? Well, what did we decide that the trees represent in our symbol analysis? Leper is encountering what? I'm sorry? Nope, not quite. Abby, help her out. And what is the future for these boys? Yeah. Correct. So Knowles is reminding us, hey, don't forget, I'm talking about childhood and adulthood symbolically, but this is within the context of war. So he wants to remind us that he is talking about war. And now we have another layer of discussion, that everything must evolve or else it perishes. It builds upon the childhood-adulthood issue. Finney, the child, is now dying. Still out of here. Jean is continuing. But what does that continuance mean? How can he grow up? What must he do? Oh, those were rhetorical questions, but go ahead, Chris. Adapt. He must adapt, correct. Now let's see what adaptation means. Chris, what's 7B? So what is Knowles developing at this point with the image of the boys on the train? Good, optimism. I think that's a little bit too gentle a word, though. Sydney?
It's coming faster than I thought.
Okay, war is coming fast, but Brinker and Jean developed this view of war, and I would say it's a little bit more intense than optimistic. Right, and what do Brinker and Jean Mitch decide to do once they see that image?
Brinker decides to enlist.
And so does Jean. And why do they want to enlist?
Because of the soldiers and family so happy.
Very good. Here you have your first view of the war. And that is the view that war is a romantic adventure. And by the way, when I say romantic, I'm not thinking novels with Fabio on the cover, and I'm not thinking, girl movies or chick flicks. Romance in the traditional sense, the word romance with a capital R, means stories about great heroes and gigantic conquests and big conflicts. Those are romances, where people go on quests, not the small little stories, but the big stories. Those are the romances. So the romantic adventure. These are boys going out there to have fun, to make names for themselves. And Jean, walking along here, encounters this view. We're finding out how we should adapt, how we should grow up. And he encounters that one.